you're on the Copper Belt, catch us on 100.1 FM, Kapiri 93.9 FM, Kabwe 93.5 FM, and Lusaka and the surrounding areas all the way to Chongwe and Mazabuka, we are on 90.5 FM. And we're also live on our Facebook page. That's Millennium Radio 90.5. Drop your comments there. Like our page, follow us, please. My guest this morning, as I introduced earlier, is Economic Front President Wynter Kabimba, State Council. And today we are focusing not on the political party. Today we are focusing simply on the proposed constitutional amendments and what they mean for Zambians. Before we went to the break, State Council did take us through the many attempts that the country has had to fashion or create a constitution that can truly stand the test of time. And as we were going to the break, we were now talking about the Michael Sata attempt. Do you want to just recap on that one quickly?
Thank you. So I was saying to the listeners out there that Michael Sata's view about a new constitution was that he was going to set up a technical committee which would do summary work. Simply go back to all the constitutional review commissions, starting with the Chona Commission, and give the people a new constitution. That was Michael's view.
So we use the four from history. We take the views that were in these four.
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that process is concluded, as you may know. The Annual Silungwe Technical Committee, as it is called, it was chaired by the late Chief Justice Annual Silungwe, presented the following documents to me as Minister of Justice. One, the verbatim submissions from all the Zambians that had taken time to go and submit. Verbatim.
Word for word. That's what.
Word for word. Okay?
Verbatim.
Verbatim.
Word for word.
Word for word.
Mulamu ni mfimbe balandire nga mwalandire ati ndefu akoma hapa na
Number two, they presented an executive summary, which was a report condensing what they thought the verbatim submissions, had highlighted. What are the common features? What are the commonalities? Who said, how many people said what?
Over and over again.
How many people said what over this point, over this thing? Three, a draft constitutional bill. So 3 documents which they presented. Okay? Michael Sata dies. In the wisdom of those that took over PF then, they decided, no. We're not going to repeal the Constitution. We shall go for another amendment to the Constitution. And Edgar Lungu, in January of 2016, at the Heroes Stadium, National Stadium, in full view of the cameras, says there is a new constitution. So he enacts or assents to the 2016 Constitutional Amendment Act number 2 of 2016, which is in place today. But I'm saying this because the youngsters out there and the other generations that may not be familiar with this history must know that it's the ghost that has haunted every constitution making process. Because I hear, people saying, oh no, this is straightforward, oh no, we don't even know why people are arguing. This is not political.
Yes.
How can a constitution making process not be political?
Every constitution making process is political.
Exactly. And you have people, phoning in. And I'm sure there will be people phoning in, even, in this program. No, but people are just making a lot of noise. This is not political. Then you don't know what politics is. Anyway. Then we have now the UPND. The UPND did not canvass any constitutional making or amendment in their program. What the UPND did, they anchored their manifesto and campaign on the National Economic Development Program, which was good because the economy had floundered, because the economy was on its knees. And therefore, the position taken by the UPND to put aside, this issue of the ghost haunting the constitution and concentrate on the economic development was very attractive to the people. And hence, the 2.8 million votes which HH garnered in the 2021. Like you said in your introduction, this thing started like a small fire that has been lit somewhere, whose glow you can't see very clearly from a distance. Oh no, we're going to do a constitution, we're going to amend the constitution. And it started during the Aimbe era. I remember him having press briefings at the office, inviting submissions. And here is what he said. We are going to start with the non-contentious issues. Now, that's the catchphrase.
Non-contentious.
Non-contentious issues.
So, muchinyanja non-contentious.
Tuja tunkani toka baguti tulipe vuto, tulipe mikangano. Tulipe mikangano. Pale bamene bazasucha nivooneka kulipe vuto. That's what he meant by non-contentious. What he didn't tell us is who is going to decide that this is contentious and this is non-contentious. He didn't tell us that. Okay? Now, if you remember, after Princess Kasune's ministerial statement, Aimbe made a statement and said, in fact, those proposed amendments are not being picked from the air. They come from the submissions. And he even said one of the stakeholders who submitted was PF, he said. Okay? The question is, where are those submissions? You have not published them. How do you convince the person who has not seen those submissions that what you are proposing
is what
is rooted in those submissions? So the principle of transparency triggers it. Where are the submissions which support the proposed amendments? Now, it is also important, Patricia, at this stage to say that what we are discussing here is not a constitutional amendment bill.
No.
The bill is not there. We are simply
yet
discussing an idea.
Yes.
We are discussing an idea that has been mooted. And that idea is predicated on the ministerial statement by the Honorable Minister of Justice. I've read through the, Now, here is how you can see that there's a problem. Firstly, the proposed amendments introduce a new electoral system.
Looks like, totally.
Yes. It introduces a new electoral system, which is the quota system.
Can a new electoral system be said to be non-contentious?
Exactly. That's a question that begs an answer. Can the introduction from the current first past the post system, where you have to garner 50% plus 1, and you move to a quota system where seats in parliament are allocated according to various interest groups, would you say that that is not contentious, Ms. Aimbe, Ms. Kasune, UPND? Is that not contentious? You are proposing that the number of nominated members of parliament should move away from the constitution to an act of parliament.
That's big.
That's big.
It's huge.
That's big. That's turning the whole of constitution on its head.
Yes.
And the last time I heard of such
proposal,
not even proposal, such such a thing happening was during the Mugabe era. When Mugabe was becoming unpopular, and he saw that his hold on power was declining, he went for this constitutional amendment and gave himself power under ZANU-PF, which was basically the majority, to nominate up to 30 members of parliament. 30.
So but that nomination can change the whole complexion of the House, of the voted MPs.
Not only that, even of government.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Okay, he can go to all the relatives in Zimbabwe and all his cronies and all their children and all their daughters and form a cabinet from that 30. It's a haimbe. You are saying that is not contentious? Ms. Kasune, you are saying that is not contentious? And Zambians should simply keep quiet? And you have people lining the streets saying that this is straightforward? Oh my God, no. No. This is duplicity. This is deceit. This is taking the Zambian people for granted. Now, we want to see the submissions which were received by the Ministry of Justice. We want to see them published. We want to see them published so that we can verify whether or not the proposed amendments are anchored or take their life from those submissions. Anything else would be bad faith. The same principle that has haunted every other constitutional making process. Okay? So if UPND means well, they must publish this. Before we even get to any next step, they must publish these, And you can even put them out for sale. We'll buy the copies and read. There is another argument which is coming up, or Patricia saying, oh no, this is just an amendment. It doesn't require submissions. It doesn't require going around the country, to ask, the people, because Parliament is given powers under this Constitution to amend, the Constitution. Yes, but here is the question: who do the members of Parliament represent? They represent the people that voted for them. When did members of Parliament go to their people to go and ask what their contributions, what their debates, what their views should be in this process? Because members of Parliament are not rulers, absolute rulers. They can only say and do what the constituents have said. So if you want to take that argument to that, stretch it that far, then you have to show us when each member of Parliament went back to their constituencies to go and consult the people and come back and debate in the interest of those people, representing their views.
Or maybe
one of the things...
Maybe they'll do it now.
Yes, let them do it even now.
Yeah.
One of the things, Patricia, which I had proposed to Mr. Sata, if he had not died, was that we were going to put in place a piece of legislation which compels members of Parliament to go and hold meetings, with their constituents, okay, and also have those meetings minuted. We have a secretariat. We have teachers all over, the country. I proposed to Mr. Sata, the teachers must constitute the secretariat. And then get those minutes submitted to the clerk of the National Assembly. So that when a member of Parliament is on the floor and is debating, we know that he is debating on behalf representing the views of the people. You don't have that now.
Very quickly, I just want to ask you, did you as the Economic Front submit your proposals?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't.
So are you really in a position to talk about something when an opportunity was provided and you didn't use it?
I'm a citizen.
But did you use that opportunity that was provided?
No. You see, the fact that we didn't submit does not bar us from interrogating an idea which we think now is not or may not be in the interest of the people.
Okay.
I think that is a right of every citizen. Even a chap who has just flown into Zambia today and is Zambian, they have every right to interrogate this.
Okay, we're running, State Council, we're running out of time, and very, very quickly, there were 13 thematic points, and there seems to be something to be said about each one of them. But maybe very quickly we can pick out a few, seeing that we don't have time to look at all of them. Are you okay with that? And maybe let's speak about delimitation. The Constitution requires that every 10 years, and implementation of this, the argument people have is that why are you going to put it in the Constitution when there are other pieces of legislation that adequately deal with this?
Yeah, and that's a very fair question, because you see, constituencies, are dynamic. The demographies change from time to time. So if you are going to enshrine those in the Constitution, you may be, tying yourself, to that. It's better to put them in subsidiary legislation.
Which is the way it is already?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Which other one?
The amendment of Article 52.6, which enables the ECZ to cancel elections where a candidate resigns. Do we need to put that in the Constitution, or, as the suggestion has been made, it can be remedied through various means administratively? Maybe the ECZ can use a number of tactics to avoid receiving such a resignation. Legally, other statutes can also be amended. Example, the Electoral Acts, to criminalize and severely punish such behavior as a deterrent. What do you say about that one?
Look, you don't legislate against attitudes. You don't legislate against morality. Morality and law are two different things. Okay? You can't legislate against attitudes.
So that's an
attitude problem.
Yeah.
You are just
yes,
you are just a spoiler. So you are just a bad citizen. So you can't legislate against and let me ask this. What is wrong? What has gone wrong with the current constitution?
In that regard?
Yeah, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So when you start hearing people, fear-mongering and say, oh no, I can make HH stay, then you realize, this is just patronage. Okay? And it's not an intellectual argument.
Okay.
Nothing has gone wrong with the constitution. But before we wind up, let me say this. That when we get to debates, when we get, to communicating with one another, I think civility is extremely important. And I'll give you two incidents here. First, during the Michael Tata era, when we were in the opposition, we wrote a letter to Arabi as president, highlighting certain things. So we sent it to State House. Arabi read it, and he was courteous enough to give us a response. Very polite response. But you know what we had done? We played politics with Michael Tata. We had leaked the letter to the press before we got the response.
You're the ones who started Mingalato.
So, so, then we wrote the second one again. We leaked it again to the press. Arabi responded. Hold on. You know what Arabi said in the letter? He said, look, I don't have a problem with the issues you have raised. The problem that I have is that you are leaking these letters.
So you were caught.
I was very embarrassed. And I'm sure so was Michael. It's better to learn from the past. He said, the problem that I have is that before you give me an opportunity to respond, okay? The second incident which I want to highlight in terms of civility in the manner in which we address each other and we communicate was one day I went to State House and I didn't know that HH had actually written a letter to President Sata highlighting certain issues. As a citizen, as an opposition leader, he wrote a letter, you know. Mr. Sata wrote a letter back to HH, not addressing the issues he addressed. And one of the sentences he put in that letter was that that response, if it is a response, was that I cannot respond to your letter because it is only fit to be in the toilet. Yes. So when he showed me that letter, I said to him, you can't write a letter like this as a president and sign it to a citizen. I protested. I said, you can't. This is wrong, sir. There's nothing wrong that HH has done by writing a letter to you, highlighting, you know, his views. If you don't agree with his views, say so. But you can't write. This cannot be a letter that should remain on the record at the State House. Mike was very embarrassed. So the point I'm driving at is this. The Archdiocese of Lusaka Council wrote, I don't know if that is a pastoral letter, you know, or wrote a document on these proposed constitutional amendments. I can tell you that I agree with them in total, the issues which they raised. But I depart with them on the tone of the letter and the language. It was caustic, it was intemperate. It is not a letter that we expect to come from the clergy. I don't expect that. And if you watched the clip on the meeting in Western Province between the Catholic Bishop Chinyemba and the HH when he went for the Komboka, HH made the comment which was very valid. He said, look, can we learn to dialogue? There's no need for us to write insulting letters to each other in the press. I think he was referring to that document. So you see, the recipient whom you want to correct, whom you want to dialogue with, takes that as an insult and nothing more. Is that what the church wants to achieve? Is that the way the church should conduct itself in national affairs? I totally disagree. And I thought I should say this.
Very quickly before I open the phone lines. Of these thematic areas, State Council, which ones are you in support of, which you think, okay, this one, let's do it?
Delimitation is fine. This has been hanging, you know, all over, you know.
It should go into constitution. It doesn't have enough legislation that can deal with it right now. It needs to be in the constitution.
No, but if it is not in the constitution, it may be subject to abuse. You can have a president next time. You see, we should not be legislating for individuals. Okay? It is all very well today to think that you can give powers to the president because HH is a nice person, is a good leader. Give him powers to nominate 30 people. Okay? Tomorrow we may have an Idi Amin. Just a fool. Because democracy doesn't always give you the best.
No.
Okay? And the guy will just cause chaos for this country. So we are not legislating here, or we are not opposing this because HH is bad.
Or because it's the UPND who have proposed them.
Or because the UPND is UPND that have proposed. We are looking at this issue with posterity. Okay, we have to guard the future generation so that we don't appear to be irresponsible ourselves.
So you say delimitation is okay?
Delimitation is fine.
Anything else? There's the issue of amending Article 52.6, enabling ECs.
I don't have a problem with Article 52.6.
It's okay the way it is?
I don't have a problem with that. It has not brought about any mischief.
Okay. Youth and women empowerment need to change the constitution. If this can be done through, yes. What about electoral system that enhances representation of women and youth? And with disabilities. The proposal is to amend Article 47(2) and 68 to guarantee seats for women, youth, and persons with disabilities.
Look, the first question that comes to mind is, how are you going to do that?
Yes.
How? This is a democracy. This is a democracy. How are you going to guarantee those seats? Are you going to have legislation which will compel, political parties to adopt a certain number of women and youths and the disabled?
So because I'm standing, people must vote for me because I'm a woman? Can you guarantee
that?
Or
because you are disabled?
Yes.
And suppose you lose?
Exactly.
How do you guarantee those results? So where is the methodology? How are you going to do this? That is the first question. The second question is this. All that stuff is already provided for. Okay? The Constitution provides against discrimination in this country. So what we are supposed to talk about is to urge political parties not to discriminate against any. Thirdly, let me say this, that people do not have common interest on the basis of gender. That's a total misunderstanding of human relations. Okay? People do not have common interest based on gender. People have common interest, based on their on the class system existing. There's no common interest, Patricia, between you and a woman who is selling tomatoes in Counter Square. Nothing. You are both women, but your interests are totally different. So to say that you put Patricia Chibiliti in the parliament because she is going to represent the poor peasant woman in Lundazi, it's a mischief. Not a mischief. There is no guarantee, that a youth who is going to put there is going, to represent, the other. People,
we have seen that already.
Relate exactly. Thirdly, this issue of women.
What's wrong with that?
Does anybody have any evidence? Can anybody produce any evidence that institutions that are run by women as chief executives have served women better than those that are run by men? Do you have that evidence? Or do you say that a bank which is run by a woman has employed more women?
Three.
No, I'm just giving an example. I don't want to be personal. I'm just giving an example. Would you say that a bank which is run by a female CEO has given more loans to women or has made women better? The answer is no.
Or the data is not there.
It is actually not there because it doesn't happen. You want to provide for the disability, but people living with the disability. Do you know how many classes of disabilities are there? Would a blind man represent a fellow, without 2 legs? Would you say that? Is that what you are saying? So, all these proposals, like this one, they just open up, arguments which you can't stretch.
Debate.
Exactly. Unnecessary debate. So, you want to introduce it, and also let me make this point. The quota system which is being proposed is not the same as a PR system, a proportional representation system. I think there is a mix-up. A quota system is not the same as a PR system. A proportional representation system is a system where the number of seats for a political party in parliament are determined. The numbers of seats are determined by the proportion of the percentage of votes they get. Votes cast. Dear proportion hiyo. Not proportion you come bati bakazi batatu bamuna 60 mayuthi 4. No.
The electoral college.
It's the electoral college. So you get the total number of votes cast for a political party. Okay?
By if munatenga 30%.
Munatenga 30%. 30% as a percentage, a proportion of the seats in the parliament is 20 seats.
Yeah.
So go and take up your 20 seats.
Okay.
The other name given to it is a list system. So the two systems are different.
0962870921. Let's just squeeze in a few calls, State Council. 0962870921. And also, please remember you can post your comments on our Facebook page, Millennium Radio 90.5 FM. Good morning. Yes, please. Good morning to you.
Thank you.
Your name, sir. Your name. Katapa? Katapaz. Mkwa.
Natote.
Say that again. The percentage of the what?
Yes, the votes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Bakatapaz. Okay, thank you so much. Let's see if we can take another call. 0962870921. Good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Tosebenza bwino tikamba na bandani. Balevi mwabombeni. Mulungu azidalisa. Yes, please.
Yes, please. Yabo Aisha muli buti.
Twalumba balevi, twalumba. Twahula. Okay, let's take another call. 0962870921. Good morning. Sorry, we lost you. Let's see if we can take another call. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning, thank you. Oh, Mr. Zulu.
Morning, Mr. Zulu. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay. We can take another call, 0962870921. Good morning. I'm fine, thank you, sir. Your name, please. Yes, Wahambulo. So listen, Wahambulo, you are in a very noisy background. We're going to struggle to get you. Do you want to shift a bit? Yes, let's go, please. Good morning. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's try and answer Bakatapaz, although his explanation was a little bit convoluted maybe, but he's saying that for him, it is clear, proportional representation or quota, whichever you choose to call it, it is very clear. If Economic Front get 40% of their votes, they must commit to giving 50% of that 40% to women and youth. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, the question is, how are you going to compare them?
How are you going to ensure
that is the political party internal democracy practice. No law should come in and tell EF how it should manage its affairs internally.
Okay.
No law should do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we don't need that for that purpose. Okay.
No, this is the difficulty that this thing is causing. So,
exactly.
So the how must be explained.
The how will not materialize because it is dependent on political parties.
Yes. And also let me say this, Patricia. This issue of saying no PR, the PR system, proportional representation, is more democratic, than this, it's not true. Because if you went to South Africa today, the debate in South Africa is that they don't want the PR system, which they have been running it from 1994. And their main reason? Because we are not voting for individuals, we vote for political parties. Then we are given, Michael, as our candidate. And he becomes very arrogant. When you try to talk to him, he says, but you didn't vote for me. You voted for ANC. So we don't want the system. We want a system where we vote for the individual.
And we hold the individual accountable.
Hold the individual accountable. That is the debate that is going on in South Africa. So you can't turn around, as others are debating to walk away from that system.
And you want to go to
and you are saying this is a system to adopt because it is democratic. I think let's look for a system that we think saves, this issue of a quota system, will bring about terrible. I can ask another question. You have women, 20 women, 20 youths, 20 disabled. Okay? Suppose, I turn around and say, but my tribe is not represented in these 20 women. What are you going to say?
Tribe doesn't matter.
No, it does. It's my identity. Okay? There's issues now of tribalism. There's, this is something that we live with because it is the bedrock of our identity. So you are going to open up yourself to unnecessary debate as to which tribes are represented in this group of youths, and in this group of women and the disabled, why do you have only 2 blind people and not, This is unnecessary.
Unnecessary. Balevi. Kamuwala ku UPND.
Kamuwala ku UPND, Balevi, don't say sure enough to UPND.
Valevi was simply saying, Mr. Kabimba, you are wasting your talent where you are. Please come and join the UPND.
No. The talent is mine. I choose whether to waste it or to not to waste it. It's mine. God given. I didn't even pay for it to God. It's just Mbasera which God gave me, a bonus. So who is ready to tell me whether I'm abusing my talent?
So you want to go to UPND?
No.
But you're already in an alliance.
Yes. That is different. That is totally different. That is totally different. We can come to that, later.
Bazulu.
But you want to talk to Bazulu?
We're running out of time. So Bazulu says, were lawyers consulted? Were you spoken to about this before the announcement was made?
That is a very good question. I didn't see it on I belong to State Council platform in LAS. And normally when there are ideas like this, especially proposed bills, they would run them past, that group. I didn't see a document that says these proposals which have been submitted. What do you people say?
Okay.
Okay.
You didn't see anything?
No, I didn't see anything.
Okay.
And I don't think there was anything. If you know, it could have beeped on my phone.
Okay. So Bahambulo is saying that in his opinion, these whole amendments seem to not have come from the people, but from the UPND Secretariat. Should they abandon?
I don't have the evidence. I want to deal with the facts. But let me say this in addressing Bahambulo's submission.
Mm-hmm.
UPND has to go back and ask themselves, why were we given this mandate by the Zambian people? And the answer, I think, that is simple, is that they were given the mandate to come and fix the economy. Not to come and amend the constitution, but to come and fix the economy.
But it doesn't mean they can't do it.
No. It's a question of priority.
And
okay, the whole of this thing, like the Archdiocese Council said in their paper, is diverting the attention of the people from real issues to what for now you would call a non-issue. Okay? Because here are the issues. UPND has a problem regarding youth unemployment. The figures are rising every day. Surely that is a priority for UPND.
But they've tried. Okay? They've tried. They've employed teachers. They've been employing doctors, nurses.
Nobody is saying that they have not tried. Mm-hmm. What we are saying is that you don't stop trying.
It's not enough.
You keep on trying.
They will keep on. They will keep on trying.
Yes. So, to bring about the debate on the constitution and stop trying to employ more youths is working. May work against them. Okay? Secondly, you have the high cost of living, which was which ranked high on HH's campaign promises. UPND must address this. And I want to tell you this. HH stands a good chance of being voted for in 2026, not because of the constitution, if he can fix the high cost of living.
Okay.
That's what brought down ECL.
Mm-hmm.
Even as he gave them a constitution, they still voted against him. Mm-hmm. Because of the high cost of living. Okay. So if I were to speak to UPND, is colleagues, abandon this ghost that is haunting you now over the constitution. Abandon it. It won't change your fortunes. It won't change